Yo, what is up guys? Delboy here, aka Blue Collar Sports TV. Hopefully you guys are doing well. If you're new here, smash that like, hit subscribe, all of that good stuff. So this video is a quick little preview for Conor Benn versus Chris Algieri and the full card in general. The card goes down on the 11th of December, takes place at the Echo Arena in Liverpool, and it will be televised on DAZN in the USA and in the UK. So I will work through this card from top to bottom, and let's start with the main event, Conor Benn versus Chris Algieri. Now when it comes to this fight, I understand that it's good matchmaking in regards to developing a prospect, right? Chris Algieri, he's quite durable, he's tricky, he's not the biggest puncher, but he can take you rounds, and he does have experience. He's the ideal test for a prospect. However, that is not how Conor Benn is being sold. Conor Benn himself calls himself world class. He wants to fight for world titles next year. Eddie Hearn is parroting similar narratives. Oh, Conor Benn's a couple of fights away from a world title. And ultimately, if that is the case, if that's how you're selling Conor Benn, I would expect a better quality opponent than a faded Chris Algieri. Chris Algieri in recent years hasn't been all that active, quite frankly, and he's basically been semi-retired. He's been commentating, he's been Danny Jacobs' nutritionist, so he's been semi-retired. He's had one foot out of the door for a long time, and ultimately, I don't really believe Algieri poses Benn any real threat in this fight. He might make it tricky for a few rounds, but apart from that, I can't see Chris doing much in this fight. So it's one of those, like if Conor Benn wasn't being so highly hyped, and if they wasn't talking about world title fights in the next couple of fights, then I wouldn't really moan about this fight, quite frankly. But you can't on one hand call yourself world class, and then on the flip side, not being willing to fight the European champion, David Avanesian, a fight in which many people want to see in the UK. You can't take that fight because you're not ready, but you're a couple of fights away from a world title fight. Doesn't really make sense. So, all in all, I think it's a disappointing main event. Conor Benn has had these sort of opponents, you know, guys like Adrian Granados, which I felt was fine at the time, Samuel Vargas, that was fine, Sebastian Formella, that was fine, but, you know, he's had enough of those sort of guys now. He needs to be fighting somebody with real ambition, and he's not fought a guy like that yet anyway. So to me it's a disappointing main event. Maybe you guys feel differently, but yeah, I'm not particularly satisfied with that main event. If you like female boxing, you've got Katie Taylor fighting Firuza Sharipova. Katie Taylor could put a glass eye to sleep. I don't even like female boxing anyway, but watching Katie Taylor is like dragging your ballsack across fucking sandpaper. Let's have a quick look at Firuza Sharipova. What does she look like? I don't know, you know. What do you reckon? What do you reckon? I mean, it'd be rude not to have a look, right? Let's have a look. Yeah, she ain't too bad, you know. She ain't too bad, is she? Yeah, we'll be rooting for Mrs. Sharipova. Yeah, she's quite good looking, man. Yeah, big up to Sharipova. But yeah, in all seriousness, no interest in this fight whatsoever. I'm sure it's going to be a turgid, boring watch. We also have, at super lightweight, Robbie Davis Jr. versus Hank Lundy. Now, that fight really has no consequence to the super lightweight division, but nevertheless, it's quite an interesting fight. Robbie Davis is a guy who's been hanging around domestic level for quite some time. He's quite good to watch, actually. He has been in some exciting fights, like with Lewis Ritson, for example. And Hank Lundy these days is a gatekeeper. He's in his late 30s, but if he has anything left, he's going to give Robbie Davis Jr. some real trouble. And a prime Hank Lundy would beat Robbie Davis without too much trouble, quite frankly. So this could be an interesting little fight right here. I quite like that. You've also got the return of Joe Cordina. Now, Joe Cordina, obviously an Olympian back in 2016. He's only, he's still only 13-0. He's not been active enough in my opinion. He does have some potential, he does have some talent, but ultimately he's not really where I thought he would be at this stage. I thought we would know how good this guy is by now, but ultimately his career's has been moved very slowly, and he's fighting a guy by the name of Miko Kashitarian. Miko Kashitarian. Let's have a look at this guy. Okay, he's based out of Belgium, and he's ranked 230 in the world. So there you go. Not really expecting too much there. You've also got the Irish middleweight prospect. Now, I'm not sure how to say this first name. Any Irish guys in the chat, please feel free to educate me below. I know that's an Irish name, but I've got no idea how to pronounce it. But Agiarco. Now, Agiarco is a decent prospect at middleweight. He was once signed with Queensberry and Frank Warren, and I was quite surprised when they let him go. And he's recently signed with Matchroom. I think that's quite a good signing. He's got an exciting style, a bit of a puncher, quite aggressive, and he's fighting fellow unbeaten Noé Larios Jr. I've never heard of this guy either. Okay, so his record is looking quite padded, but, I mean, at the end of the day, Agiarco is very early in his career. You can't really argue with that, quite frankly, but I'm looking forward to seeing him fight. Sorry, I've got to clear my throat. Because Agiarco is a decent prospect. You also have Jordan Gill in an 8-rounder. I'm not a big fan of Jordan Gill, quite frankly. He does have some skill, but stylistically, he's not one of my types, put it that way. You've got the pro debut of Joe McGrail, and you also have his brother, Peter McGrail, who was a former Olympian. He's having his second fight against Engel Gomez. A decent record for a second fight, can't argue with that. Paddy Lacy continues his campaign at super middleweight. He's 2-0. I'm not sure whether I've seen this guy, Paddy Lacy. I don't think I have, no. I don't think I have. But he's fighting, and you've also got the pro debut of Callum French. Now, Callum French was a pretty decent amateur, from my understanding. He signed with Matchroom, so we'll be seeing where he goes in his pro career. Looks like he's going to turn pro at super lightweight, so we'll see what happens there. But quite frankly, all in all, when you look at this card from top to bottom, it's not particularly great, is it? It's not particularly great. Crazy to say, I think Robbie Davis Jr. versus Hank Lundy is the best fight on this card, and I think the highlight of this fight weekend will be watching the weigh-in for Firuza Sharapova. But enough about that. We could get cancelled. So I'm going to wrap it up there. Not a great card, but share your thoughts below. What do you make of it? Share your thoughts below. Who have you got in the main event? Do you believe Chris Algieri can pose problems for Conor Benn? Or like me, do you believe it's a bit of a damp squib? Share your thoughts below. Beanie Guy Del Boy. Peace.